right. Uh, I'll just go ahead and count 10, 7, 6, 5.
All right. I do believe I am live and audible. If you all can give me just a small little sign, that'd be very much appreciated. But with that in mind, though, hello, friends and fellow gamers. My name is Tempest Mask 1000. Very happy to be making my ASF debut here. For those that don't know me, I am a bit of an anime geek, especially when it comes to Dragon Ball, having grown up with the series, and well, let's just say I have an eye for some of the stranger games in mind. So we just had a discussion about miscellaneous Dragon Ball titles, and this is definitely one of them, as they mentioned. So this is Dragon Ball Evolution for the PSP. This is the third and final of the Shin Budokai games released for their Sony's handheld here. And what a weird way to go out on, I gotta say. But yeah, no, these games are kind of neat, and this game is actually not that bad. So the category I'm going to be doing for y'all is any percent story, which is probably one of the most basic stuff you can do. It's you start a brand new file, and then you just begin the story, and you do all the missions until you get to the credits. It's a bit like how Budokai 1's story mode works, where there are technically other extra missions involved, but you don't gain access to them until you've beaten the game once. So this is almost like a decent companion run to what we had not too long ago with Glitched. So yeah. By the way, Sid, I do got DBK'd sitting with me on this one, just as observantly watching and all that good jazz. So yeah.
I was very happy when you ran this game. This is a strange love. I have a strange relationship with this game.
Yeah, I'd believe it. Before we get started, I do want to make it clear that yes, this is a legitimate PSP 3000, and it was a pretty good purchase too. And I'm also running this game on UMD because with the PlayStation Shop obviously down, acquiring a digital means is not necessarily easy. I will look into it though, because I do believe if this thing is somehow purchasable on the Vita Shop, which I imagine it is sadly not. If it was, I'd probably be able to get it through that, because you can actually still purchase games on the Vita Shop and then download it to your PSP, no problem. But alas, backwards compatibility from that platform is far from perfect. So be it. But we shall begin this thing. I'll just do my name for the sake of the profile. And without further ado, we will get things kicked off. I will turn saving and auto-saving off, because obviously that does save me a little bit of time, and it's not like I need to keep this profile for all intents and purposes. But maybe one of these days I shall. It's not like I've ever really had incentive to save my games on this thing, which kind of sounds messed up, but you know, it is what it is. So time will begin once I've selected story, because that, for a new file, you just go straight into it. So here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Saiyan strike. Alright, so as I mentioned, this game is a Budokai title, which means that basic fighting and controls, if you are familiar with the game, do come into mind. But with this being a Shin Budokai game, there are a few unique details about this. Particularly in that by holding the R button, I have this little aura burst dash of sorts, which allows me to really go in fast. And it's also very useful for, you know, going in and out of the background as such. You can also use it to do what's called an aura burst guard, which I do not believe chips away of your guard meter and gives you like brief protection and stuff. But then we also have a mechanic called the full burst, which I will utilize to briefly get my key into max, and it'll have a little bit of a timed bar, which determines how long I can have that for. Otherwise, the usual rules of a Budokai game apply. For the most part, I will be playing as Goku, because this is obviously Dragon Ball Evolution. They just figured it made sense. But after this first fight against Grandpa Gohan, I actually will be playing as Gohan. So there are at least 3 characters to use that you will be in control of once you do your first pass of the story mode. But that's the first fight. And now we will be moving on to the first of two Gohan battles. So that will be Gohan versus Mai. Now, for those unfamiliar with Dragon Ball Evolution, this film came out in 2009, and a lot of people like to meme on it for good reason. Well, Mai in this film continuity is a lot more serious than what you'd probably remember her to be. So, needless to say, there's probably a good reason that we got no Pilaf and Shu. Or Soba, if you prefer the manga name translation, which... Don't ask me how I remember that, but yeah, I know a good detail or two. That said, let's get into it. Now, admittedly, on my timer side of things, it's gonna look like I'm going a little bit over because, at least from my live split anyway, the last run I had happened to do of this game was through my alternative method, which of course has faster loading times, and well, as you all know, that can really make the difference in your splits. But today I absolutely wanted to play the game as it was intended, and besides, this PSP of mine, I don't get to use it a whole lot. I knew I wanted a piece of the Sony history when this era of gaming, back when I used to play the DS, and knew I must have been missing out on quite a bit of stuff. But that was the Gohan versus Mai fight. We only got one more Gohan battle, and that's going to be against Piccolo, which, as some of you may recall, is played by James Marsters, who is known for Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, as well as plenty of other credits. And if you look at some of them very closely, you just might realize that this man's love for Dragon Ball managed to even get him another role, maybe just a little later on. Do we know for sure? Maybe not. But if David Gray sounds familiar, well, that just might ring a bell. Anyway, here's Piccolo. He's got quite a few similar moves in his set, not unlike that of the actual Piccolo from Budokai games. Of course, the big difference with this being that this game's Key Blast button is actually a dedicated special moves button, which means that any time that I press it, I will not be shooting Key Blasts, but rather I will be using one of 3 special attacks that this game so generously gives to all of its characters. So it's with that in which I can do the Spirit Blast Cannon with Goku if I'm not holding any direction, but then he's also got the Dragon Fist combo from Budokai 3 and other Budokais if you are holding, I believe it's right, or it could very well be left. It's been a while since I've used that, but you know what? We just might try it, considering that I'm just super curious. But yeah, I do apologize for the long load times. By the way, that's just one of the, of course, that is just one of the trade-offs of running this off of an actual UMD disc. But I feel there's something Was that?
I was going to say this game has very quiet menus too. Like, it's eerily quiet in between matches.
Yeah, you can say that again. Okay, let's try this. Yeah, that's not quite it. No. Alright. Okay.
So, Tempest-san is fighting Bulma right now, and Bulma can actually, like, drop, I think, like, cars and, like, I can't remember all the other, like, objects you can drop on top of you. But you can actually get, like, if she builds enough meter, she can pretty much do, like, 2/3 of your health in a single, like, full range confirm. She doesn't really play like any other of the characters in this game. It's kind of gross.
You saw her toss a capsule just now, actually.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I didn't even get hit by anything. I could have sworn I would have at least saw the object fall down, but I guess the game just figured, yeah, no, not now. You don't need this. But yeah, Bulma's moveset also has the guns involved, so she can definitely long range you, which is definitely not fun because if she can pick on you from long distances, then your best bet is probably to move up and down within the background, and not much of an alternative there. This is Master Roshi. In the film, he's played by Chow Yun-fat, and in this game, he's got a move that Gohan's moveset had, which is the Shadow Crane Strike, which is what I used as sort of the alternative, because the reason I'm preferably using the Ki Blast Spirit Cannon from Goku, which, again, another copy from actual Goku's Budokai moveset, is that this can deal a lot of damage, a lot of heavy damage on impact. But it looks like he got to use his counter move on me. That's not fun. So counter moves, they obviously set the character up to respond to any hits that might get them during said counter period, and that one just caused the actual game to sort of slow down time, almost like the Matrix. In fact, you just saw something like that happen again. It's I want to see less of that because, well, yeah, it's not fast. If in a speedrun, we just got to keep going. So now we're moving on to the first of many Chi-Chi fights. Compared to all other characters that you face in the story mode, Chi-Chi probably gets the second most compared to Piccolo. And part of the reason for this, too, is that one of those Piccolo fights is indeed a repeat. But if you are familiar with this game's, I want to say 13, maybe 11 character roster, if memory serves me right, there is an alternative version of Piccolo that you will not see in this particular run, but in the New Game Plus story category, or whatever it's called, that is something you would see, because in that case, I am trying to take on every one of the missions I'm doing now, as well as the ones that I've unlocked, and then a couple of secret story acts, which involves this Neo Piccolo, if I'm not mistaken. Which begs the question, did Evolution potentially predict the idea that we'd see Piccolo get a powered-up transformation? I'd like to think no, but who knows? It's funny, though.
Something interesting, funny you mentioned that, because actually, like, this game and the other two Dimps games this is actually just a reskin of the Another Road.
Exactly.
And so, like, the reason why Master Roshi plays like Gohan is because he's Gohan.
Right.
And then Gohan plays like Trunks, actually.
Really?
And
I never would have thought of that.
Yes. And then Ozaru is actually Brawly. And so all the characters, except for a few, are just reskins of the others. That's why when people say they don't like this game, it doesn't make any sense, because it is literally a reskin of the other games.
Yeah, no.
Though, so if you know how to play this game, you know how to play the other games, the other two Dimps games.
It's really
and
not
I can't
that hard.
remember.
Yeah.
It's not that hard, and the system is exactly the same. There are a few goofy things, like I don't know where Bulma's super comes from, and I think
true.
Chi-Chi is unique, but I think I can't remember. You're coming up on it now in story, but later on, one of the characters you actually fight, and I can't remember the character's name because I don't even remember it in the movie.
Oh, you're probably thinking of Falum.
Yeah, yes. So that's Janemba.
That explains a lot.
Yeah. I used to have a list of all this, but the moves are all like directly from characters. So I think that Piccolo, I want to say, is not Piccolo. King Piccolo is like Gogeta or someone. Like, he's a really good character.
Man.
But yeah, it's definitely it's a goofy game, but I hope everyone I'm glad you're running this game because it needs more exposure, and I got a little bit burnt down on it, so I'm glad that you picked up the torch, the emblem of this game, and you're gonna keep at it, because Yeah, having to explain that to people 100 times gets tiring. So it's like
I feel
you're doing.
that.
That was a really good. That was a really good match, by the way. Versus.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I was surprised.
He got me with a launcher move, which I definitely can't say I've ever seen before, but it's kind of funny how even with the smallest things I can just suddenly be like, okay, so now I know that for the future. Because there was even with that swiping attack. See, the thing is, you're trying to keep your opponents under control just like any fighting game speed run. So as long as you're doing that, then you're not really going to see some of these things that they're really capable of doing. Which is kind of funny, kind of half of a shame too, but you know. And yeah, PSP, please stop giving me that "do you want to quit the game" prompt. I do not want to quit the game. But yeah, let's be wary of that. I will say this isn't the first time that the PSP likes to do shenanigans on me. I don't know how old this thing is, but this is actually an import from Japan that I actually happened to win off of an eBay bid, and I actually managed to get a really good deal off of it too. Thing is, though, that, and this is no joke, when I first, oh yeah, that is definitely a Janemba move, no questions asked. When I first attempted a speed run of Evolution off of this thing, I had the misfortune of my splits, or rather my run, dying to one of the Chi-Chi fights, and the reason for that is because my power ran out. So... And the problem, too, with PSP Direct Capture is that, at least with what I'm doing right now, apparently the game feed does not want to show if you're currently plugged in, which is probably one of the most counterintuitive things I've ever heard. Now, for all I know, this could just mean that it's the power cable that this one came with, because it actually doesn't fit in all the way. It still is capable of charging the thing, but it's not like it's something that appears to fit snug in. But, you know... If it works, it works. You just gotta, like, work with some of the weird things about it. But yeah, I will probably eventually look into some of this stuff, because another funny thing about my PSP is that the circle button is actually pressed in, but you can still it can still read inputs, which of course is how I've been doing my special moves. So obviously, if it does what it's meant to, it's not that big a problem, per se. Alright, so we are moving into the first of a few Chi-Chi fights. And like I said, she's practically the most fought character when it comes to this story pass. Alright, now you saw me go through a little prompt before this battle started where it said that I had access to the Kamehameha. Now in this game, that is Goku's ultimate move. So allow me to reiterate that in Evolution, you have 3 special moves, one for neutral direction, one for left, and one for right. And then you have your ultimate attack, which is done by holding up. I guess I don't know why that prompt keeps coming up. It's not like I'm hitting the PSP button, so that's definitely gonna have to be looked into soon enough. Thank goodness the PSP menu only goes into no by default. But yeah. So the Kamehameha does have a 2-stage sort of thing going, where if I have at least half of a key bar among my 5, then I can press it again and Goku will do this extra little burst of damage. And so that can be pretty helpful. I will full burst relatively soon, because I'm actually going to try and get one off of Chi-Chi right now. For those that don't know what's going on, this is the point in the film where Mai apparently uses some unknown means of shape-shifting through blood collection, apparently, to disguise herself as Chi-Chi, and is trying to steal the Dragon Balls for Piccolo. And so Goku is completely caught off guard as to who's who. Okay. Looks like we had an aura burst, but luckily I managed to wait it out long enough that the second stage hit was able to do some real nice damage. It looks like we're both using full burst. Not too terrible. I just want to see if I can shred through it a little faster, considerably. Alright, I'll ultimate because I am nearing the end already, and if you are using an ultimate while in full burst, that will supposedly wipe it out automatically. Not much else to explain at the moment, though. Although, after this fight, I will say we actually are coming up to what I like to call the Final Four. Or rather, Final Five, really, because there is a Goku fight where we're still playing as Goku for yet another fight before I temporarily... Chi-Chi, could you please stop that? Alright. No, that's not going to do it. Okay, there we go. She was giving me a little bit of trouble there, considering all that guarding she did. A little unfortunate, but you know what? It is what it is. You might have noticed that there's a blue gauge under the health bar, by the way, and that is indeed the guard meter. If that thing goes down, then you've got a broken guard until that thing is completely refilled. One unfortunate thing I do have to do is skip any cutscenes that show in-game models being animated to do things, and for whatever reason they decided to give one for Yamcha's truck, which is shown to be able to fly, obviously, like in the movie. If that thing had an in-game move, then I probably would have said, just give it to Yamcha, but nope, it's apparently unique for this cutscene as far as my expertise can tell. But now we're moving into the first of a few more Piccolo battles. We'll start off as Goku. After that, I'll get back into it, but this time as Roshi, which will be the last character that we play of the story that's not Goku in this run. And once we get down to it, yeah, that'll, then it'll be back to Goku time. Now, Piccolo's ultimate move, oh well, it looks like he's about to show it, is the eye beam. That's funny. Ask and ye shall receive. But yeah, I hope you all are having a great time so far. This is definitely the start to a pretty radical schedule, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other runs come up and all that good jazz. So definitely want to thank everyone for having me tonight. This is definitely something else to finally get an anime game speedrun of some type going on my resume of speedrun titles, for sure. This game always intrigued me from a distance. I just always found it so fascinating how, if you are familiar with the story mode dialogue, you'll notice that there are some details in the interactions that are kind of different between the actual film and this. For instance, Bulma introduces herself as Bulma Enchanto instead of Bulma Brief. We also have Mai apparently throwing some knives at Gohan instead of ninja stars, or whatever, or maybe that's vice versa in the film. And then Goku gets called Kakarot and a Saiyan by Piccolo in this game, so yeah. Nameks were a thing in Evolution as in terms of the film, but Saiyans, not so much. As you can see, I have a little condition here that I have to defeat Piccolo by using the Mafuba. And so, if I do manage to defeat him beforehand, that will count as a loss. Like I said, Roshi has the Shadow Crane Strike, which is just as an effective move as Goku's Spirit Cannon. It's a lot of blocking and stuff. I will say, definitely not my fastest run, but all the same, at least I'm proceeding on fairly smoothly, as far as I imagine, anyhow. Okay, that did not do it. I gotta remember that's a close range. Oh, yeah, gosh dang it, I totally got carried away. So, like I said, killing Piccolo without using Mafuba will count as a loss with this battle, and unfortunately I just got carried away there. A bit of a rookie mistake, nothing you can do about that, but it's okay. I'd just like to remind that if you are interested in the other PlayStation Portable Budokai games, that's of course Shin Budokai and Shin Budokai Another Road, which the latter also really fascinated me for the longest time, because that story mode was like future Trunks timeline with Majin Buu, way before Super even happened. It's always interesting to look back and look back to that, you know. Just very fun time, in my opinion. Something I always wanted to play. Okay, Roshi, I need you to do the Mafuba. Alright, cool. We are in the clear. So, now it's going to be back to Goku, and we only have 3 more fights to go. How this is going to work is... Hang on, give me a sec. There we go. So now we're going to fight Goku's transformed self, or Ozaru, as the film likes to call it. And as DBK mentioned, this character is basically a reskin off of Z Broly. So, yeah, this ought to be interesting. But then after that, there's 2 more Piccolo fights, and then at the end of the second Piccolo fight, that will be when time is. We've still got a bit of a ways to go, though, so let's see if I can get there relatively fast, but there's a good chance I might just go a little bit overestimate, which not much you can do sometimes. That said, I hope you all have been enjoying this run so far. Like DB said, there's just something interesting about this game, and I too am glad to be able to show it off for others to just witness the very essence of it, if you will. And I do want to give a shout out to the voice cast as well behind this game, because actually, I don't think any of the film actors got to reprise their roles, oddly enough. But then this is what has allowed people like Yuri Lowenthal to take the role as Goku. So if you were recognizing his voice as I was going along and just couldn't put your finger on it, well, now you know. It is the man himself, best known for Sasuke Uchiha, as well as plenty of other anime roles. It's just a really cool dude. Shout out to Yuri. You also might recognize him for the Insomniac Spider-Man games as Peter Parker, which is absolutely a super cool role for the guy to have. So, all right, 2 more fights. Let's make this count. Not too much else to really explain at the moment. If DB would like to say a couple of things that I may be missing, then that's totally coolio by me. Because other than that, there's just me trying to get through King Piccolo's defenses.
Not much. Like, this fight can be difficult because, as you can see, Piccolo has like guard on everything. So the best strategy here really is to do as much damage as quickly possible, and then lay out your ultimate attack. So Piccolo can't recover or eat through your guard. But AI also likes to do burst and guard break attacks, like you just saw. So
and that IB
this is absolutely a hard boss. So you have to kind of stay up of him, and if you give Piccolo too much space, he'll do exactly that: use beam, charge up, and then rinse and repeat. And so the scary part about this game is that the enemy's red health gets recovered, but this final fight with Piccolo, it gets recovered exponentially faster. So you have to use, like, one of the cheap strategies here is if you just like break after like you down Piccolo really doesn't have like an answer for it. I think that was, you're coming up on time, right?
Yeah, just 1 more fight to go.
There's 1 more fight, right?
Yeah. It's the big one. It's Piccolo 2.0, except it's not Neo, because apparently they just didn't want you to face that yet. And Mikey over in chat reminding me, Yuri Lowenthal is also best known for Ben Tennyson, the older version anyway, like from Alien Force and beyond. Definitely a cool show in my opinion. Still holds up to this day. All right, let's see what I can do here. Yeah, he's doing a lot of aura bursting right now, and then just giving me some good old uppercuts. This is not a Street Fighter game, man. Do not Shoryuken. You are not Ryu, and you will never be. Okay, just got to get a little more ki. I prefer to have the half bar to do the two-stager. CPUs can also do the little vanishing technique that you're probably familiar with from Budo. Oh, wait, hang on. Time! Let's go! I didn't think
GG.
that... Thank you. I didn't think that second stage was going to connect, but it actually did. Game surprised me there. Well, that's the run. We're a little bit overestimate, but not by too much, so I'd say that was a pretty decent run overall. And a nice first showing for a live event coming from me. You can't defeat me, Saiyan. You will fail. You are mistaken. I will not lose. And then we are graced with one final in-game model cutscene. A beam struggle between Goku and Piccolo, who will now do his Kamehameha while Piccolo does his little demon grenade thing. I will admit, the animation and the camera angle actually does look kind of not too bad whatsoever, but like, yeah, no. Piccolo just gets knocked back, dragged back. You just see his model, you do not see it disappear. It just lays there and everyone assumes that he's just dead. That's kind of a rookie mistake there too, ain't it? But yeah, this game is certainly something else, and I would definitely recommend you give it a look-see and, you know, just give it a try. There's really not a whole lot you need to pick up with it. It's very simple to learn. If you're a fan of the Budokai games, it's not that big of a transition, and overall, there's just something unique about it that I can't help but appreciate. But thank you guys for having me. Really, I appreciate it, and a big shout out to anyone that has worked on this game, because I'm sure they're all pretty good people, the voice actors especially. And what else can I say except if you guys want to follow me, just feel free to check out my Twitter at @It'sTempestSteve, where I post any updates, especially if I'm planning on streaming. Otherwise, I got my Twitch here at TempestMask1000, also the name of my YouTube channel. And yeah, I like to do stuff for fun. I mean, what else is there? What else is there but fun? So with that said, also very glad I got to put this Capsule Corps hat to a good use today. But yeah, let's keep this party rolling. I think it's a good way to end the night, at least for myself. So yeah, thanks for joining me, DB, and to everyone that is still yet to run, I wish you all the best of luck. Until next time, ciao, Michi.